In 1998, Pokemon gripped the youth of America, becoming one of the biggest multimedia fads to ever grace our country. The Fortnite Apex Legends of the 90s. From the moment I first laid eyes on a holographic Blastoise trading card, Pokemon became a special part of my childhood. My young mind could only think about Pokemon, how cool the monsters looked, how fun the game was, how much I wanted all 150. I was obsessed, as many kids were. I remember bargaining with my dad on multiple supermarket runs to buy me a pack of Pokemon cards ahead of my allowance.
Spot me, Dad, you know I'm good for it.
As the Pokemon craze died, my love for it only grew. I played the games, collected cards, watched the movies and anime. Okay, maybe my love for the show died down a bit. Yu-Gi-Oh! Now that's an anime, am I right? My love for the turn-based JRPG phenomena strengthened after each generation, and it was a series that went back to time and time again. Pokemon will always hold a special place in my heart, specifically right here. And I will always look back on my time with Pokemon fondly. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting tired. I don't mind linear storytelling or filling up a Pokedex. Even the turn-based combat is still a lot of fun. However, the whole Pokemon experience is not nearly as exciting as it used to be. For a moment, I wondered if it was a matter of my personal taste in games was changing. I'm positive my 10-year-old self would be emotionally scarred by some of the games I play now, and there are games I look back on now and wonder, how did I enjoy this? But that comes with growing up. Your preferences change. So despite loving every Pokemon game I picked up until now, have I grown out of the series? To test my hypothesis, I replayed Black 2, my favorite gen, and you know what? It was still amazing. Everything from the beginning difficulty spike to the greatest story told in a Pokemon game was exhilarating, except for Pokemon Studios. Sure, I missed some of the modern conveniences of Gen 7, but I had a blast all the way through. Nostalgia blind! He's clearly nostalgia blind! That's fair, maybe I am. Nostalgia blind! However, that doesn't change the fact I still enjoyed my return to Gen 5, but struggled getting through recent gens. That said, if you think for 1 second my recent falling away from Pokemon means I'm not excited for Gen 8, you are dead wrong. Whenever the Pokemon Company announces a new game, I can't help but get swept away in the hype. For me, there's always the potential the next game will be better than the last, or even my favorite. And while I may have some grievances with the current games, they are still fun Pokemon games. I mean, just look at Gen 8! Look at those environments, the different hues, the wonderfully designed map, these impressionable starters. Hashtag Team Score Bunny. Her cute hat. There is a lot to look forward to in Gen 8, ladies and gentlemen. Kinda looks like Sun and Moon in HD to me. Well, you're not wrong. While Pokemon Sword and Shield has a lot of potential, a part of me worries this will be another mind-numbing adventure stuffed with bloated text and slow pacing. If Gen 8 is going to rekindle my love for Pokemon, Sword and Shield needs to let go of our hands and allow the player to control their own adventure, pick up the pace, balance the difficulty, and continue to bring in fresh ideas. But most of all, they need to accommodate different players and not just hone in on the younger demographic only. Pokemon has been going strong for 23 years, gathering a fan base that spans generations. While the majority of players during Gen 1 were kids, the current majority is most likely split between kids and people in their 20s. But Gamefreak hasn't done much to acknowledge that, beyond the competitive scene and maybe some inspirational trailers. Of course, I don't blame them for catering to children as of late. I mean, they technically always have been. Pokemon will always be a franchise marketed towards 10-year-olds, first and foremost. What has changed, however, is Gamefreak's perception on what that audience wants. They assume most young newcomers want a linear adventure where the game more or less tells you word for word what you must do. The progression guides the player from spot to spot with little to no deviation. All Pokemon games do that. Oh yes, but actually no. Previous gens were a little more lenient in allowing the player to go where they wanted. Sure, there was always a place they had to visit or an HM would block the way, but they let the player decide when they would get to it. It's near impossible to go through a recent game without getting forced to a certain area. It's almost as if Game Freak thinks getting lost is a cardinal sin. But what's wrong with getting lost? Part of the joy of Pokemon is the adventure and the discoveries you make along the way. Gen 1 in particular did an amazing job towards the middle of letting the player decide which town to go to next. If your Pokemon levels are miles away from the trainers in the area, you might be in the wrong place. However, that was your choice to make. On the flip side, I can't think of that ever happening in Gen 6 or Gen 7. Again, I'm not saying they're bad. They just restrict the player a lot more than I would like. Now I sound like an old dude on Facebook complaining about the current generation.
Well, back in my day, it was okay to get lost. Now they just hand the Pokemon to you. Sad.
But perhaps recent gaming trends influence Gamefreak's change in game design. I wouldn't be surprised if the original Yokai Watch, being the cultural phenomena it was, influenced Sun and Moon in some way. And the fact that mobile games are incredibly popular with children probably swayed Gamefreak to create similar experiences. However, this is just my speculation. It's entirely possible Pokemon changed without outside influence. My point is, there's no need to heavily appeal to a younger crowd. Pokemon should embrace its older fanbase and not cater the experience to one demographic. Now, I'm not saying I want an edgy post-apocalyptic setting, we already have that, or even a game strictly created for adults. That would take away the charm of the series. But I do want them to consider what will be enjoyable for kids and adults.
In reality, maybe they should give all the Pokemon weapons and toss them in the Battle Royale mode. Kids would eat that up.
Wait, scratch that. The world's not ready for that. So, will Gen 8 be the one? Honestly, it's too early to tell. But there are some bright spots. One, Pokemon Let's Go.
What? Ew, he's talking positively about Let's Go? That's it, let's go.
Ha, I see what you did there. In truth, I'm not a fan of Let's Go. It was fun for the first few hours, but the novelty wore out quickly, and I once again became bored with the Pokemon experience. It basically took the mechanics that I disliked in recent titles, like hand-holding, and cranked them to extreme, but that's a discussion for another day. There was, however, some good to come out of Let's Go. Portable Pokemon storage, no HMs, again, Pokemon traveling beside you, among other things. Actually, the series as a whole could go in a favorable direction because of Let's Go. What if going forward, they separate the extremely easy Let's Go series from the main series? The beginner-friendly elements of Pokemon become a standard feature for Let's Go, and an experience meant for all player types is saved for the main series, like Gen 8. I think that would be a great middle ground approach to accommodate different playstyles, and I'm sure plenty of people would double dip, including myself.
Yeah, I'm a fanboy, you got a problem with that?
At this point, however, it's just speculation coupled with my wants. Another bright spot for Gen 8 is the setting. Rumors were going around before the reveal about Gen 8 being set in the UK. I wasn't exactly thrilled, but I trusted that Gamefreak knew what they were doing. But after seeing the reveal and the Galar region map, get me bagpipes and put on me cute! I'm going on an adventure. The region looks wonderfully diverse and unique. Sure, it's more or less the UK flipped upside down, but it's the details and locations in the trailer and on the map that give the Galar region a new sense of freedom.
Freedom is just a straight line.
Ah, but looks can be deceiving. Considering the placement of these cities and landmarks, we might be traveling in zigzags or have the ability to choose where we travel. Of course, there's no guarantee that'll be the case, and we could very well be restricted to a straight line, but at least we're not suffocating on an island. You need to take your hate for Sun and Moon to counseling. It's not healthy. It's not hate. I'm just tired of it, okay? There's also something about reaching the top of the map that sounds satisfying, like reaching the peak of a tall mountain. I'm king of the world! It's almost as if you can always see your goal and the steps you need to take to get there, just by looking at the map. That's where I'm going and no one's gonna stop me. I can see this tower at the end being the Elite Four, and the path up the tower is Victory Road. Just imagine the view from up top the tower as they crown you champion! Or maybe it's somewhere in a mountain, I don't know. Gyms could also bring in fresh ideas for the series in Gen 8. Gen 7 had a good take on gyms with the trials, and I was surprised how well the totem Pokemon worked as gym leaders, if you will. They provided a difficult challenge in a game that I considered to be a cakewalk at times. Honestly, the totem Pokemon were one of my favorite additions to Sun and Moon. However, trials still had their shortcomings, specifically the happenings in between battles.
Can you find my secret ingredients?
Oh, spot the difference. Who's that Pokemon? I don't have a problem with tasks per se, they're just way too easy and obvious. That said, I still think the trials were a nice change of pace from the repetitive gym cycle, and I enjoyed the totem Pokemon battles. Following that, Gen 8 will hopefully add a unique flair to the gym battle system. We have confirmation that these giant stadiums are indeed the gyms of this region, so we can assume gyms here are influenced by soccer.
Excuse me, I mean football.
Based on the look of the arena and the main protagonist's uniform. One interesting change that was confirmed in a leaked tweet are gym leaders are now gym masters. Granted, this could be a typo, but on the chance it's deliberate, what's the difference? Allow me to take some guesses. With there being a football theme, perhaps you are your own club or team that people cheer and support. Each gym you go to is a scheduled match with the home team or the gym master. You battle the players on the team before reaching the goalie or gym master. 1 in 11 seems a little unfair, but I'm sure the home team will have fewer than that. Your goal is to defeat the 8 home teams and enter the big league, or Elite Four. Another slightly less possible idea: what if you are the leader of a club? You travel to gyms, schedule a match, and then your team consisting of 4 or 5 trainers takes on the home team. Seems a little silly, but it could be a neat way to change up gym battles. One last idea I have about gyms: what if you carry out a 6-on-6 Pokemon battle, but you strategically place your units attacking one move at a time, a la Fire Emblem? Sounds way too complicated for a simple gym battle, but wouldn't that be a neat change? I'll stop now before I overthink things. As with any new Pokemon gen, there is a lot to be excited about. New region, new Pokemon, new features, new stories. I'm getting hyped just thinking about it. At the same time, I hope Gamefreak thinks about their diverse audience and tries to make Gen 8 compatible for both kids and adults. It's possible I'm in the minority of people who think this, and there are many who love the current Pokemon format. But if Gamefreak wants to rekindle this random small YouTuber's love for Pokemon, they're going to need to change. If not, maybe it's time we went our separate ways. I know there are changes you make in any relationship, but I can't keep living this lie. As the saying goes, it takes 2 to skin a cat. Or something like that. What I'm trying to say is, I'm breaking up with you. You're obviously happier with some younger guy, and I don't want to stop you from being you. It's not just me, it's not just you, it's both of us. Goodbye. Just kidding, I'll never leave you, I love you so much. Guys, the new legendaries for Sword and Shield have leaked, and I have the exclusive first look. Wow, thanks. I hate it. Thank you so much for watching. Are you still madly in love with Pokemon? Let me know in the comments below. If you are still obsessed with every title, that's totally fine. Different strokes for different folks, man. Like I said, I still have fun with Pokemon. I'm just not in love with it as much as I used to be. Anyway, if you like this video, consider subscribing for more. Shout out to Chase, Rad MVP, My Echo, and Joseph for their support on Patreon. Goodbye, you good people.